Welcome back to this 001 Game Creator video tutorial series, where we'll be continuing to cover how to create your very own role-playing game from start to finish using the built-in action RPG template. In this third tutorial, we'll be setting up gamepad controls, learning how to modify the player's appearance and attributes, as well as creating a cinematic cutscene with enemies to fight. Let's start things off by setting up new key bindings for our player's movements, so that in addition to using the keyboard, players can also use a compatible gamepad as well. Click on the Controls button along the main toolbar to open the Controls window. Here, you will see a list of all the current key bindings for your project and which actions they relate to. The corresponding scripts can be found inside the Input Triggers window, but we don't need to worry about them just yet. Click on the Add button next to Player 1 for the left control to open the input window. To set up the D-pad for movement, click on the drop-down menu next to Gamepad 1, select Pad POV 1L from the top of the list, and then click OK to close the input window. Then do the same for the up, right, and down controls, only this time selecting Pad POV 1U, Pad POV 1R, and Pad POV 1D respectively. To set up the left analog stick for movement, select Pad Axis X- for left, Pad Axis Y- for up, Pad Axis X+ for right, and Pad Axis Y+ for down. For the action, use item, and use magic controls, simply press the A, B, and Y face buttons, respectively, on your gamepad, for them to show up automatically in the key/gamepad text box. Feel free to set up new key bindings for the other controls as well. For the right analog stick, use the rotation X and Y inputs, and use Axis Z- and Axis Z+ for the right and left triggers respectively. Once you're finished, click OK to close the controls window. Now let's move on to our player character. To edit the player's appearance, click on the Players and Party Members button from the main toolbar and click on the Edit Actor button. You can customize the appearance of the player by changing the settings in the sprite section. The default name for the player can be changed from the Players and Party window itself. I'll leave mine as Hero for now, but feel free to name your player however you wish. Keep in mind that players can change their name in-game thanks to the Allow Name Change event that we added to the end of our item quest in the previous tutorial. We can also adjust the player's money and level, as well as their experience, magic, and statistic progression. For now though, we'll leave these at their default values. Next, we'll look at creating a cinematic cutscene. To do this, we'll first start by creating a new map. Give your map an appropriate name. I'll name mine Cutscene Map. Then set the map's dimensions to 25 by 35 by 5 and set the up connection to My First Map. Be sure to edit My First Map and set the cutscene map for the down connection so that the two maps are connected. Returning to our cutscene map, click on the Environment button to open the Map Environment window. Under the Rain and Snow section, click on the button beside Sprite and then select Raindrop from the Effect folder. Use the sliders underneath to increase the size variation and speed range, leaving the density as it is for now. Once finished, click OK to close the window. Now click on the actor icon, move your mouse cursor over your map, and left-click to place it. Select Spider from the Spider folder and click OK to open the actor window. You'll notice that most of the actor settings are missing. This is because we're using a pre-made actor template, which is a preset with all of its desired settings already in place. Actor templates are especially useful in situations where not a lot of variation is required. Using them is not only more convenient, but it also means that if we want to make changes to our spiders in the future, which we will, then we only have to edit the spider actor template itself, and not each individual spider manually. Since we're going to be placing several of these spider actors, leave the display name and scripting ID as they are. Once placed, right-click the spider actor and select Copy from the drop-down menu. Then right-click an empty area of your map and select Paste from the drop-down menu to place another. Do this a third time so that there are 3 spiders on the map. Click on the Properties button to open the Map Properties window, and then click on the Edit Script button to open the script editor. Double-click the Once Branch event from the Quick Access panel, and then click on the Expand Events button, type Disable into the search box, and double-click on the Enable Disable Actor event. Set the actor to Main and Able to Move to No. This will prevent the player from moving during the cutscene. Now double-click on the Pan Camera event from the Quick Access panel. Set the map to This, and then click on the Position Preview and select an area towards the bottom of the map, where the spiders are located. Set the time to 2 seconds. Then double-click on the Wait for Camera event from the Quick Access panel. This will pause the script until the camera has stopped moving. Next, click on the Expand Events button, type Sun into the search box, and double-click on the Change Sun Color event. Set the map to This, and then click on the Sun Color button and pick a dark grey from the color swatches. Set the duration to 1 second, and tick the Delay checkbox to pause the script until it's finished. Then click on the Expand Events button again, type Rain into the search box, and double-click on the Change Rain Density event. Set the map to this, the rain density to 1, and the duration to 1 second. This will cause the rain to start. Now double-click on the Delay event from the Quick Access panel and set the time to 2 seconds. Then double-click on the Return Camera event from the Quick Access panel and set the time to 2 seconds also. Next, click on the Expand Events button, type Alarm into the search box, and double-click on the Turn On and Off Alarm event. Set the map to this, and the alarm to activate. This will cause all of the spiders to immediately start charging towards the player. Lastly, click on the Expand Events button, type Disable into the search box, and double-click on the Enable Disable Actor event again. Set the actor to Main and Able to Move to Yes, so that the player can move again. Now let's test the game to see it all in action. Pick up the sword and move down to the cutscene map to see the cinematic play out. Press left control on your keyboard or B on your gamepad to attack the approaching spiders. In the next tutorial, we'll be adding new resources, creating a start menu, and changing how the player's health is represented on the HUD.